It's good shit though.
Uh-huh.
Hello everyone. Where's my chat from the deep thing? Welcome to Chat from the Deep, our weekly live stream post-session discussion where we talk about what just happened during D&D. This is the chat for session 45. So if you've not watched that, please go do that because there will be spoilers. I'm your DM Eric, and joining me we have Gottwald's player Chris.
Hello.
And Max player Raymond.
I'm,
What are you eating?
I'm eating an ice cream sandwich and a beer, which is a weird
What kind of beer?
It's actually amazing. I just picked this up. Dead Cowboy Red Lager. I've never had this before. I picked it up at Whole Foods like on Wednesday. It's amazing.
What's the actual Dead Cowboy is the brewer? What's the
No, the brewer is Los Angeles Ale Works.
Oh.
So if I can go on a slight tangent, I have noticed that there is a legit, if you're a beer drinker, there is a direct correlation between the vicinity of the brewer to you and the quality of the beer. Like local brewers that you're buying the beer from, they just taste a lot better. I genuinely think that the shipping process does something to beer. Maybe they sit out the heat or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I found that, like, 'cause I got Shiner at some point, a couple times I've gotten Shiner. I've been like, it tastes better in Texas.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. Like, and I'm like, okay, maybe that makes sense because like shipping it to California.
My favorite beer is brewed in Texas, the Blood and Honey.
Yeah,
Revolver. Revolver is the
Revolver is in Austin,
in
right?
Granbury, right? I think.
Okay,
yeah. It is south though.
But I think there's like a legit argument to be made of like local breweries because they don't spoil or sit in the sun
that's
or
probably
whatever.
true. I mean, because that's why people like you get the biggest macro beer, so it's usually like the worst for the most part. Like Bud Light is like fucking piss beer.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Because they make it so they can ship it everywhere, right? Like it's made in like the middle of Missouri or something.
Actual Budweiser is okay, but nobody actually drinks that.
Yeah.
Drinks Bud Light. Welcome to our beer podcast.
Yes.
So we finally got to level up. We removed the curse. We're basically in kind of mostly linear mode in terms of going to this area, which you've actually known this location for a while, but I thought it'd be a fun way to be like, oh, but because you got the Pirate Lords, now you've got the pinpoint location of where you need to go, which is my way of avoiding any like exploration stuff to do with trying to actually find the floating layer in the Lanther Isles. The skill challenge is actually written in the adventure where it's like, hey, there's crashing waters and reefs and islands, so they should make some kind of skill challenge thing. Skill challenge is always tricky with this group, and I'm always not sure about how do I even put people in initiative. Do I just say, what do you do? What do you do? Like, how do we... So I kind of did a little bit of an informal initiative thing where I had everybody roll dexterity checks, and that way I could be like, all right, what do you do?
It's
you,
funny.
what do you do?
I think we all thought you were like rolling for like us falling off the ship.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh no, I got below a 14 or whatever. I got below 15.
I'm gonna fall off.
I'm falling off the ship.
Yeah. No, it was just basically initiative.
Yeah.
So yeah, the skill challenge was there. It was to make a certain amount of successes before failures, and failures were gonna do damage to your ship, basically. I thought it was hilarious how much the spellcasters were willing to cast spells for the skill challenge, which is tricky for me as a DM because I'm like, I guess a spell slot could auto-succeed, but also it feels good to just make them roll, so I kind of struggled with that a little bit. I think at one point I had
like the Mage Hand was a cantrip.
That was a cantrip. That one I really had a problem with, too, where it's like, all right, I'm going to have you roll Arcana check just to see.
And the other one she used, I think it was also a cantrip.
Yeah, and I think I let that one pass. And I'm like, all right, that was a clever use of that one, at least, with the holding up the lights and stuff. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Priest just going off the deep end with this whole other thing where he's like, I'm just going to start. It was very appropriate for his character.
I did find it funny that Reese was like, I'm not going to
actually help the
not
ship.
take this seriously at all.
Yeah.
I'm choosing to just.
I know. I struggle with like, do I give him inspiration for this? Because it is kind of thematic, but also he's not helping his crew whatsoever.
He is literally fighting me as a DM. He is not engaging with the skill challenge.
Yeah. But I was like, but as long as you've got a thing you can roll, then I guess technically it's part of the skill challenge.
It's one of those things where it's like, it's not, he's not engaging with your skill challenge, but he is technically engaging with like his character. Like he's role playing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's where I struggled with it. I was like, yeah, it's appropriate. Ray, how'd you feel about the Sharky fallout?
That's a hard one. I mean, I didn't see him at joining our party for very long, and he's only got certain uses. I mean, he can only be in the water, so it's like, at some point,
at some point, this relationship isn't going to work out.
Right.
Our lives are too different.
Our lives are at different points in our lives.
And
I can breathe air. You've got gills.
I don't know. I just got the sense like he's just not an important character to keep around. So I didn't try too hard. I don't know.
It did seem like you were gonna have to like keep feeding him people and like talking to it's like a consistent.
It was gonna be an upkeep thing for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
This is not like
I
one of
think
your other allies that you could just have join you and be hunky dory for sure.
I think that was part of it. It was getting complicated, having to cast a
I
spell.
love talking about like relationships here. It's just getting too complicated.
I'm looking for a relationship that's a little bit simpler than this. I don't have to
If you
work
want to
so
be friends
hard.
with benefits, that's fine. But I can't lock into a dramatic relationship right now.
Yep.
But yeah, maybe the way you're describing it, I'd have to cast a spell every 10 minutes just to talk to him, and so it wasn't gonna work out. So I don't know. I just got that.
I feel like we got a lot of use out of him while he was around, though.
Right. Yeah, he just seemed like a temporary ally. It's like he was trained, but he's not really ours. It might just be the way that Eric described it in previous sessions. Like, hey, he'll listen to you, but he's not like faithful to you.
Yeah,
that's where it came from. He's not faithful to me.
Yeah.
He was
And
gonna
then Reese
run
is
it.
rolling with that too. It's like he will be torn apart by so many tentacles. Like, oh no.
Reese is literally writing a religion as we go to this.
Yeah, basically.
He's like writing a Bible. It's a really fucking dark religion, but he's writing one.
He's an eldritch cultist, basically.
Yeah.
World ender.
You will see him in the afterlife, and he will be tortured, and you will watch.
That sent me fucking rolling.
Yeah. So yeah, just kind of went with that. I mean, but the thing is, when you're having us roll, it's like I can't do anything. Like, Gottwald's steering, and it's just rocky sea. So it's like I can't man the ship. I can't do anything. So I just
the tricky thing about the skill challenge, which I think is what we struggle with, is the challenge. And I saw Heather kind of struggled with this too. It's like, well, I can't. It's like, well. I'll give you an example. The skill challenge says a bunch of bullet points of examples in there. It's like, here's what the players could do in this situation. So strength check to guide the ship around rocks. Acrobatics check to stay upright on the rocking deck. Constitution check to keep a staunch grip on ropes. A nature intelligence check to decipher the chaotic pattern of the currents. A survival check to chart a course through a reef. But I'm never sure if I'm supposed to tell the players that directly, or if the players are supposed to be like, well, can I do this or do that? I think that's where we struggle with it.
Also, I don't think our minds immediately go to skills.
I noticed that, yeah.
Our minds go to actions.
Like spells and items and things versus just skill checks. Whereas I'm just waiting to translate everything into a skill. Yeah.
Right.
So I always start with do I just all right, guys, we're in skill challenge mode. Give me a skill because that feels kind of awkward. So.
But then you're pick one of your skills and apply it here. It's like, then you're like, I don't know.
So instead I'm I guess I'm hoping you guys are all right, I'm going to do this thing. And then I could just translate that as okay, make me this skill check and we'll see if that works.
Yeah.
Originally there was supposed to be another interesting monster battle here, but which was what I was planning on doing for a while, but knowing we just came off of a bunch of fights with the pirate lords, and now knowing this was probably 99% chance going to be a big fight here, I was like, I'm just going to take that out, and we're going to leave the skill challenge, and then that'll be the nice pacing in the middle.
I think that was a good idea. We're coming from a big fight, we're going into a big fight.
Yeah.
We need a big fight in the storm too.
And it worked out nicely that you guys long rested and leveled up, so that also felt like a nice pacing breakup too. So by the time we actually made it to the fight, it was 11:30 or something. We were pretty late into the session, to where I was like, all right, now it at least doesn't feel like we're going from one big fight to another. We had a kind of a nice little break point in there.
Yep.
So this area is
Can we take a step back actually before we get into the next area? Because the chat did bring up a good point that I found funny.
Pay attention to the chat. Hello, chat.
When the DM crafts a custom magic item and the players give it to their NPC.
Oh yeah.
I felt bad, but also I didn't, because I was like, this is legitimately the best use of this item. But I also was like, Eric made this. I could tell if Eric made this.
You could probably pinpoint the moment I got a little salty about it too, like in the stream.
Like, oh, you're gonna give it to Borges, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you're gonna give it to Borges? Yeah. Sure, fuck it. You motherfucker. We're just like, I don't know. Is this worth the achievement? I'm just like, oh, I have failed.
Yep.
I have failed.
Yeah.
It was a hard competition though. Like you read off, I am attuned to the Scimitar of Speed, which has served me much melee use.
Very much so.
You know me, the Hat of Disguise will still have much use later on.
He won't, even if he never uses it, he'll never give that up.
I'll never give that up. Yeah.
And I have used it, and I still
Yeah.
can find more uses
So
for
might.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it came to that versus the Eel Staff, and I don't know. I mean, the Eel Staff still has uses. Like you throw it out, it can shock people in the water. It's a water fight. But I haven't tested it yet, so I don't know.
Right.
How do I pick which one? I think, you crafted it. It's for balancing, but I think what turned me off is the whole single
You a
use
motherfucking
reload.
gun that you can use in the water, and you're like, I'm gonna keep this stick that could maybe turn into an eel just in case. No,
But you also gave that to him like 5 sessions ago. So
Yeah.
it's like which of our
I mean-
which of your gifts do you want us to hang on to?
to be fair, well, the one I custom made, I was hoping, but to be fair, you guys are at the level and you're late game where you've got a bunch of attunable items. You have to start making those hard choices. Like that is totally fair. And that's part of the interesting balance about getting kind of those mid-level, low-level items like that circlet, where it's like, oh, this is okay. Oh, it doesn't require attunement. Well, that's fantastic. So I can definitely use it. Versus something that's got attunement, you instantly have to be like, all right, now I have to weigh it against all these other item slots. So that's definitely fair. Both those items, and I joked about that last week, were what you would have found in the Narino dungeon. So I had a whole backstory written about this stupid thing about how the merfolk had it and everything. I was like, well,
Now it's a different backstory.
now it's a different backstory about why it was in the pirate thing, and now it's Borges's,
Now it's Borges's.
which almost used it very effectively on this session, though. So,
and he will try again next session.
There you go.
As soon as his turn comes up, he's gonna try it again.
you know what?
Like,
The honorary
situation is
fifth
too
member of this
good.
party is using it, so I can't be too salty about that. But that is funny. I forgot about that. It's funny you brought that up. So yeah, the Driftwood Docks is from the book. We're doing a lot of stuff by the book now, basically.
Yeah.
In terms of the, by the way, this map, shout out to Refus, patron, long patron and fan of the show. Refus, very active in the Discord channel, and the crafting streams and everything. Did this map based on the Driftwood Docks map, because all the maps from Call from Deep are the black and white bullshit that we can't use. And this map is way better, and I love it. So
really?
huge
Just
thanks.
a better version of that.
It's way bigger. It can actually fit the ship in there. It just made more sense. Whereas the original version, I was
okay.
like, this doesn't make any sense. There's like a 10-foot gap between it. How do you fit a ship in there? Like, yeah, this is awesome. So I love this map to death.
Nice.
So I know I wanted to use it. I know I wanted to set up this encounter. And pretty much all the enemy groupings, again, are I think, by the book as well, in terms of the amount of thugs, the ballistas, the ogres, the drums, minotaurs, the gladiator guy. Like, all of that is basically from the book. So the only thing I'm really doing is with the additional map here. And then trying to figure out, like, trying to anticipate what you guys are going to do in this situation.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, because at one point I was like, I wasn't sure if you were hesitant because you really wanted us to walk into your obvious trap.
Yeah.
I was like, he's really kind of pushing us all the like, but maybe you. But I was like, well, maybe he's just actually trying to make us justify it. So that's fine.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, we're not going to walk into the obvious trap.
Yeah.
we're gonna do everything we can to not walk into the obvious
trap. And it looks very much like an obvious trap. And the idea was you're in a very perilous situation where it's like, shit, you're being like basically funneled towards this area. Like, what can you do? And yeah, I at least expected like somebody to like jump off and try to do reconnaissance. I didn't necessarily expect all of you to be like, all right, let's all jump into a small boat and then we'll do the reconnaissance thing. When you said, let's try to park the ship back there, and I'm like, I can slow the ship down a little bit, but this is really not a good place. So I tried to work with you on that.
That's fine. I felt like that actually, in the end, added a little bit of tension to the fight. Where it's like, okay, the ship is approaching and we're trying to clear the danger as the ship is approaching.
Yeah, which is
like
cool.
A race.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I definitely expect you guys to fight in this battle. And like I said, the map is large enough where we can do all kinds of options for fighting. The tricky thing I struggled with, and I'm interested in your opinion on this, is when to put you on this map.
Oh yeah, okay.
versus
think
because
you
I did have to.
You did it almost the perfect time. I think at the point where you were asking Heather, like, do you want to put it on the left side or right side?
Yeah.
I think that would probably was about the time where it's like, yeah, visually she probably needs to just see this.
Yeah.
But up until that point, I think it was fine. Like we were describing, like there's a left side, there's a right side.
Yeah.
I will say, I don't think any of us were actually tracking the visuals of what you were describing with like, there's one on the right side, there's a bridge that connects you to another one on the right side, there's one on the left
Yeah.
side, there's a bridge that connects to another one. I don't think any of us were actually following that necessarily.
It is admittedly confusing setup, I think.
Yeah,
and
but
trying to describe it.
that's fine, I think. Like, because all we had to really say at that point was like, yeah, we want to just be closest to the kill box area. Like, we didn't really. It wasn't too important that we got the details down exactly.
Right. Yeah.
I think any earlier we would have focused too much on the movement, the distance.
Yeah.
We'd probably be trying to fire spells from way yonder.
Yeah, that's also
what
true.
I was worried about.
I do feel like in your description, which is probably I think it's probably a better situation. I was imagining a lot more distance with this whole thing.
Yeah.
Like how far the ship was from the cliffs and how
Yeah.
far we were gonna have to row on the boat. I was imagining like a lengthy distance to where
Yeah.
like maybe they wouldn't even spot the ship as we were approaching. But then when we went to the battle map, I was like, oh, our ship's right here. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, if he had put us in the battle map in this situation, yes, we would have just fought from the ship. We would have just been like, oh yeah, we're in 120 feet of the ship of the
Right.
cliffs.
Well,
We
that's
can just shoot it.
the reason I didn't show you the map at first is because of that reason, because I only have so much. Which again, shout out to Revis for creating this map; it's amazing. But I knew that I could only show this map once your ship gets that close to the cliffs.
Yeah.
Which is why I was
Yeah.
like, and I even said at one point, like, hey, I'm giving you guys time to prepare. You're not, on a tractor beam or anything, but you do feel like you got to make a decision about what you're doing here. So I wasn't going to put you on there until I could put your pieces on there. And then I think I had the ship like halfway on the map or something to show that it was back there, but it's still like moving forward a little bit. So yeah, that was a tricky thing. But yeah, I totally expected, I mean, you guys have so many moves of knockback. And I'm giving you giant enemies with giant cliffs on it, which normally would be a very perilous situation for the party. But you guys are actually like, hell yeah, this is an amazing situation.
This is a playground. Yeah, like you said, it's like this is like a golden hour for us.
Yeah. So I definitely expected.
And you knew that Heather was coming with sinkhole, right? Like you knew that was going to happen, right?
I knew we were
like
going to get sinkholes and possibly shattering the ballistas, basically. Whatever combination of those would end up happening. Yeah, I definitely expected all those shenanigans to happen. I still had plenty of dudes around, so I was like not too concerned in terms of numbers. And maybe I have some more tricks up my sleeve, and I just teased there may be an even bigger boss in the distance.
Groups.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, in the boss, yeah, for sure.
Yep. Yeah, and this is like the first encounter of an area, so
yeah,
I expect it to cost you some resources and stuff, but
I thought it was genuinely a fun fight because we were like, oh fuck yeah, like let's go, like yeah, well, let's pull all our shit that we can push people off.
Felt like action superheroes like jumping into the battle and just like knocking people away and jumping up there. Yeah.
I'm sure Reese. I'm really sad Toro wasn't here actually because he would have
just
blasted
he was the one I was most afraid of going into this fight because he could literally just auto attack people like off twice a turn. I mean, from range you can do it from melee, which you guys have the smart idea of like, hey, let's just get up there and get in their faces. But Twirl, I knew even from like the one thing I was gonna say is that if you guys were relying on if you guys were gonna stay on the ship, you wouldn't have been able to even target them very well.
Yes.
Now Sabra could have still done her sinkhole thing pretty easily. But in terms of targeting, they were all going to have huge height advantage over you.
I think we realized that. Like we're literally walking into situation like I was imagining at one point the oh god, what movie? The Rock. Where they come out of that.
Oh I cannot give that order. You must give that order.
Yeah, and the guys are like all on the like the entire armada.
Yeah, and Harris is like, we've got the high ground.
Yeah.
We got the high ground, Anakin. And Michael Biehn's like, fuck you.
But yeah.
Fucking love that movie.
Yep. And that's literally what I was imagining, like rolling into that. I was like, we can't do that. That's fucking death. Like,
yeah.
that's not.
I've
seen that movie.
Yeah, I've seen that movie. Yeah, so I think it's a cool situation and a neat battle map to work around. I am hoping it doesn't overlast its welcome, so I'm going to try to judge that. Obviously, we could only get through a single round of combat.
That's wild.
in this
yeah.
session, which felt, it was a level up session. Things took a long time in terms of getting here. So I expected we'd make it a little bit further, but we will have all next session.
Although I will say,
to try
for
and get through
one
it.
round of combat, like a lot got done.
And a lot got
One
done,
round of- like people got knocked. A lot of people died.
Well, one round
a lot
of
people
combat
got-
plus one extra surprise round from Savra, I think,
Oh,
too.
that's
So
true.
that was a
Yeah.
big deal because she kind of
Yeah.
obliterated that, like, half that middle area.
If
This is
that Minotaur had not actually rolled a crit,
Yeah.
would you have let us get another thing off?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because our plan at the time, and even as I was saying it, I was like,
Yeah.
man, the DM's gonna be generous if he lets us get away with this.
Yeah.
Of like her casting sinkhole, and then us just like hunkering down for a second, and then her doing another AoE.
Yeah.
You were rolling perception checks, so I was like, I wasn't sure if you were gonna let it go or not.
Yeah, it's tricky because I got a cough. It's finally catching up with me.
Yeah, it's late.
Pass Without Trace should not grant invisibility.
No, it's just hard to detect, but not invisible.
Right. So it's a tricky situation where you're like, how good of a job are they doing, like blending in and using that Pass Without Trace, using the stealth checks versus perception checks. And yeah, if you just have a wizard casting spells, like technically spells can originate from all kinds of places. So,
Right.
and the rest of you were purposely not doing anything.
Yes.
So I'm like, that's pretty good. So I was rolling perception checks legitimately. Now maybe I would have, if we had gone through a whole round, I might have let her get it off again. And then we weren't even at technically initiative yet. And the next quote unquote round, I probably would have had people start just literally physically moving to the side of cliffs and looking over. And then one of them just would have spotted you guys. So I think I probably would have let you guys get one more off. If assuming nobody else did anything and it was just her doing a thing. And then after that, it would have been just rolling normal initiative.
Yeah. So it was just bad luck on our part, that crit from the Minotaur.
Yeah. I forget what even I was thinking about for a DC, because whatever the last group stealth check you made that was plus 10 or something was pretty crazy. Yeah, the Minotaur stat block is like a plus 7 perception or something. It's crazy.
That's wild. Yeah.
Which, otherwise the basic like bandit and thugs are terrible guards because their perception's like a 1 or something. I guess I probably should have given them advantage because they had the height and they were looking around for something. So that would probably been the smart thing to do is give them advantage on perception. But
well, I suppose, but if they weren't directly over the cliff that we were under, that wouldn't have helped them.
Yeah.
Maybe the guys who were directly above us, that would have,
Yeah, so I think I would have given you guys one more of it, which would have definitely done some things. And then after that, it probably would have been okay, now they're just looking over all the cliffs and then they spot you guys. So rolling initiative now.
And that's fine. I get that was our plan if we hadn't gotten spotted. Anyway, it was like one more AoE and then we jump out and start the fight.
Yeah. Demnix is arguing you shouldn't be able to throw out spells without combat starting. I know if it was Baldur's Gate, it would have probably immediately started combat.
Yeah. I guess the only mechanical argument for that.
I mean, verbal components, you still have to make perception to hear it, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you argue that there is a like sorcerer meta magic. It's like, oh, you can do the spell without making a sound.
I guess that's sort of one of those things where it's like mechanically it's one thing, but you try to translate that into the real world and it becomes a whole other thing.
Right. Because how loud is a verbal
spell? How loud do you
have
to talk? Yeah.
Yeah, and I already said there was crashing waves and waters.
I could talk this loud and still be talking. You know what I mean? It's just like, what does verbal mean exactly? Like,
is it actually defined in the handbook that like you have to like shout this? Like, I don't know. I've never probably looked at that twice, but I guess it's an argument to be made that spells would do that. But I don't know, man. With Pass Without Trace, with enough range on a spell in a loud area, like I don't know. Maybe I'm just too nice of a DM, but I kind of liked y'all's plan anyway. It was just the reconnaissance thing, and hell, I could have had you guys get shot down just rolling the rowboat over here, but I'm like, all eyes are trained on this big ship. There's a lot going on. You guys could probably sneak in a rowboat.
That's true. I guess we didn't, when we were rowing over, we didn't realize how.
I could have easily been a huge dick and been like, all right, they're gonna start pelting you with ballistas. Yeah, you're gonna start getting attacked right now.
That would have been something.
But that's not as fun as what you guys did.
Yeah. Because I mean, at that point, like, what's even the point of us climbing up the cliff? Like, they're up there. They're just, shooting shit down at us as we climb.
Yeah.
I don't know if we chose.
Man,
to
Chad is
move past
really arguing.
about the somatic.
Yeah,
or
they
verbal
don't like
conundrum,
they don't like the stealthy spell.
Ah. Well, again, it's mechanically okay. The argument makes full sense. Like once you cast a spell, you cannot you are identified. Mechanically, great. In universe, like if I was watching this movie as a movie, how does that make sense? Like they would have to be yelling the spell. You know what I mean? Like for it to be a situation where any spell casting immediately, no matter the situation, identifies your location and it would have to be like spells are like echoing things that everyone hears in a certain radius. But verbal, as defined by the book, is just you have to just say the words. There's no definition on how loud you have to say them.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting that this is, I think, we're maybe getting a little bit away from video game logic, because I do think in a video game, once you cast a hostile spell on an enemy, it's going to trigger, that's going to count as your like surprise move, and now you're identified. I don't think there's any way to remain in stealth after doing that. Which is interesting.
I will say, as Izzy Fish had just said, I will say the one thing, I did think about this at one point. The spell effects would probably be obvious. Like the fact like a sinkhole appears in the universe. Sure.
Which is why they're they're actively rolling perception checks of them searching. Yeah. So to me, it's, I will cite maybe like a stealth video game. For example, if you directly attack somebody in a stealth video game and they survive the attack, you've now made them hostile. And they're probably shouting to others are hostile. If you cause indirectly another enemy to get attacked, then they go into like searching mode or hunting mode and don't turn hostile immediately, right?
It'd be like in a stealth game, like throwing a bomb, like throwing an explosive out, and like, oh yeah, it explodes and hurts somebody.
Yeah,
they know you're there,
right? Well, they know something. They know there's danger afoot. So I'm playing Star Wars Outlaws right now, and you can use your little pet dog Alotl to like trigger explosions and stuff. And if you do that, then it turns the enemies into hunting mode, and they're actively searching for somebody, but they're not instantly engaging you and going hostile. Yeah. That's kind of how I was picturing what was happening here. It's like, oh shit, there's danger. Now we're actively looking for the danger. It's not necessarily like, oh hey, there's somebody obviously cast a spell and they're right here.
Yeah.
Now, I may be getting argued about this, but that's I may be giving too much of the benefit. Given the environmental things that's going on here, and these guys are guards, so maybe I was being way too lackadaisical with them, allowing you guys to like invisibly stealth your way up the cliff's wall. But again, I want you to take advantage of the high stuff. You're using Pass Without Trace. You're using your abilities, to get that far, and then you're specifically saying, okay, we're going to cast this long range spell, and then we're all just going to stay hidden. We're not going to do anything else. So the enemy is now going into hunt mode. They're like, oh shit, well, there's somebody. Now, what I could have done, I guess, is that round have somebody just start looking over all the cliff's edges.
Sure.
But instead, I was like, all right, everybody's
searching. Which is kind of what happened anyway.
Yeah,
like,
that's
kind of what ended up happening. Yeah. I feel like, I feel like what the chat's describing is kind of how it went.
Yeah.
In general. But that was sort of happenstance by the net 20.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's an interesting argument to be made, and this may be where I'm just more of a lackadaisical DM about that kind of stuff.
I'm with you. I'm always like, I'm always inclined to flow less away from the mechanical and more towards the narrative. Like, what makes sense in a story perspective? Like, does it make sense that a person casting a spell from a cliff edge 20 feet below these people or whatever, and they're casting a spell 50 feet away from them, that everyone would just know where they are?
Yeah.
Just how would they know? I guess that's the question. Is how do they know
was previously stealthing, so they were kind of set that up. Yeah.
But I mean, there's the mechanical argument is valid. Certainly, the mechanical argument of cast a spell.
Now, if it was like a concentration or something, maybe you could argue that like, okay, there's some kind of ongoing verbal command that lets them to see. But this was an instant targeted AoE ability.
Yeah.
Like, how do you track? If a fireball explodes, people are looking around going, oh shit, there must be a wizard or a grenade or something somewhere. Yeah. But to me, they don't automatically say, oh yeah, I heard this wizard over here cast a spell. But maybe I'm in the minority there. And I love playing RPG video games, and I realize that in RPG video games, that is going to happen if you
Yes,
cast a
they-
spell.
They do just immediate-
automatically target. Yeah.
Which I mean, I enjoy those too, but I also find that bullshit. Like
Yeah.
how do they know where you are? Like, I just finished playing Cyberpunk, and that's the same thing. Where like once you shoot one person,
Yeah.
everybody in the complex knows exactly where you are.
But let me ask you this: you played like the hacker person in Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
If you use those hack abilities to like make somebody's gun blow up, do they get to know where you are?
Cyberpunk has a mechanic for that, where
Yeah.
like you do that, and there's like a bar that starts filling up, where like they're tracking
They're
your
hunting.
location.
Oh yeah, they're like trying to follow it back. Yeah.
yeah. And you're watching that fill up, and once it fills up, they all know where you are. That one I feel fine about, but
Yeah.
it's more like the shooting. Like I snipe someone, and suddenly everyone within a 20-mile radius knows exactly my exact location.
Yeah. I could see it being a case by case basis, to say your narrative thing. I could see like, hey, you guys are in a obvious dungeon. There's only 2 rooms. Like they're gonna immediately like
they know where you are.
realize that
Like,
you're
there's
over
only-
there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I honestly I think you played it pretty narratively here. Like we're like they identified a spell was cast. They identified there were enemies in the vicinity, and they started looking for them.
I think that the one
And
thing that I
one
really
of them found them.
Yeah, the one thing that I really bent over to allow was to let you guys get in that position in the first place. Because if there's literally guards on these cliffs watching the outer side, how would they miss a small rowboat coming?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
But whatever, I was just interested in what you guys were doing. And you know, maybe they're just distracted by the boat, there's waves crashing, maybe they just didn't see the rowboat, because the rowboat's technically not stealthing. And that's where the difference between like stealth and visibility comes into play. Like you can be as quiet as you want, but there's just a boat coming.
Yep.
But again, I was like, I just want this to happen. I want the party to get close and see what they can do. And yeah, just I don't know. At some point, I think you just gotta adjudicate. And a lot of times, I will go on the err on the side of the players, and sometimes I regret it, but most of the time I don't. I will say that. And usually makes for good storytelling and fun encounters.
Yeah.
And I fully expect you guys to kick ass in here, at least for these first couple things. And again, part of my goal here is just to take away some of Sovereign's spell slots. You know? she's a wizard with like what 30 spell slots. Like you're gonna have to just throw these encounters at the party.
Yeah. I know.
I kind of saw her face when you said that.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about being a wizard is that like I can feel that there's this like not disappointment but frustration early on.
Yeah.
With like when your level is like 1 to 7, the number of spell slots you have is very limited. Where you have to like think about each one. When you get to like level 10, you're like like you said, you've got 30 spell slots.
Yeah,
across
I'm throwing this shit out
5
constantly.
levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why I got to be careful about pacing you guys with those long rests. You guys just had a long rest, so you are good to go throwing all that shit around.
Yep. And I think she made very efficient use of her spells in this combat. Level 5, level 4 spell.
That was probably my favorite moment is when she was like, all right, let's do Sickening Radiance. And then either you or her were like, what about Gravity Sinkhole? And you were like, holy shit, Gravity Sinkhole.
Heather thought of it, but when she thought of it, I like
you
lit
got
up. Like
so excited. It was hilarious. I was like,
I was very excited about the idea. I was like, oh, wait, hold on. These are cliffs. That means.
And you could literally just pull them all off, ragdoll them.
Yeah.
Yep. And a lot of those guys were designed to like leap onto your ship. As I mentioned, they had like all the grappling hooks.
Oh,
and
you
things
did
they
say
could
that.
do.
Yeah. So this would have been, in my opinion, it would have been pretty dumb of us. But you had this all planned out to where
I had the worst case scenario planned out.
Yeah.
Where you guys just like, fuck it. We're just going to waltz on through here and see what happens. And then I had my whole thing planned out. And then from there, and like I said, I expected some plans to be upended and reconnaissance to be made and things to happen. So that's why I didn't feel like, bad about anything that happened here. But I was prepared to do terrible things to you guys if you had just rolled with it.
Yep. This is, you've made this argument before, but I feel like this session is another of the arguments where like our particular group of people would be have a lot of fun with like heist type stuff, because this did turn into that a little bit where it's like, all right, we're gonna like branch off and use these spells.
I'm telling you, with you guys, that's some of the most entertaining sessions we've had is when you have a heist type scenario to deal with, which is why I before we did this campaign, on my list of campaigns to run was Keys in the Golden Vault, which is an anthology of heist missions. because I was thinking like, gosh, that I feel like those would go off pretty well given how much we like these kind of scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, here's the area, here's your mission, and here's all the different kind of paths and things you can do, and there's a lot of planning involved.
Yeah.
There's a lot of chaos and complications. The stories are always pretty simple and self-contained.
Yeah.
It'd just be an interesting thing to tackle, I think.
Yeah.
And this is not what I necessarily thought would be a heist-like mission, but you guys definitely
Well, we treated it like one.
yeah, kind of treated it like one, definitely. Yeah, so hopefully we can get through this big combat encounter in the next session.
Yeah.
I've got a lot more stuff to plan from there.
Nice.
All right, I think that will do it for this week's Chat from the Deep. Thank you to Chris and Raymond. Thank you to all the wonderful fans for watching, and we will see you next week.
See you then.
See you.